Good day, everyone, and welcome to this child passenger safety presentation designed specifically for childcare workers. I'm actually quite excited about this project because I recognize the relationships and the influence that you have with the primary caregivers. I actually would consider you secondary caregivers because a lot of our children's waking hours are spent with you. So you mold and you shape them and you really become a part of their extended families. Thank you for all of the work that you do with our children. My name is Denise Gomes, and I am the Occupant Protection Coordinator for the Virgin Islands Office of Highway Safety under the Police Department. Again, welcome to our presentation. I hope that you embrace this life-saving information and do great things in our community. So without hesitation, let's get started. The Virgin Islands Office of Highway Safety is an educational agency with a goal to reduce fatalities, injuries, and economic losses caused by vehicle crashes. Some of our main focus areas are impaired driving, distracted driving, bicycle and pedestrian safety, and our area of focus today, occupant protection. Our motto is, traffic safety is our #1 priority. Our job is to teach you the strategies that you can use to keep yourself and others safe on our roadways. You might ask, what is occupant protection? Occupant protection deals with keeping occupants, the drivers and passengers, safe within our vehicles. So this area teaches about the correct and consistent use of seat belts, child car safety seats, and about how they interact with airbags. It also teaches about the law in our territory that governs this area. So, how does all of this apply to you? Well, you play a very important role in the lives of our children. As secondary caregivers, you spend a great part of the day with these youngsters and you build strong relationships with their caregivers. As a matter of fact, just like the primary caregivers, you share a vested interest in these babies' futures. Just like the parents, you want your young clients to get a strong foundation so that they can be successful in school and learn how to socialize with others. But most of all, we all want them to be safe. When we see their bright faces, we cannot help but think about their potential and what they will offer to our world. It's no wonder you chose this awesome profession. Thank you for all you do for our children and their families. Happy Child Passenger Safety Month! Around the nation during September, a national spotlight is shown on child passenger safety. During this time, we educate caregivers on the importance of consistently and correctly using age, weight, and height appropriate child restraints. With car crashes as a national leading cause of injuries and fatalities for children, this outreach empowers caregivers to keep our children safe on the roadways. So through this presentation, we are inviting you to partner with us by collaborating with primary caregivers to promote child passenger safety. At the end of this session, you should be able to recognize the importance of child passenger safety, empower yourself and others with basic child passenger safety information, recognize child passenger safety hazards when you see them, and know where to send primary caregivers for more information or for child passenger safety resources. How many of you have seen our children being transported in a number of risky and illegal ways? It's not uncommon for a child to be spotted hanging out the window, standing in the car, sitting on laps, and other unbelievable seating positions. If a driver stopped short or got into a crash, these behaviors could result in serious injury or worse. It will take a village to reduce this risk. We are that village. Therefore, we're not asking you to become an expert. Rather, we are asking you to become an advocate for child passenger safety. In your role, there are many ways that you already advocate for these children. This advocacy can save lives. Let's start by talking about our territory's laws. Did you know that in the Virgin Islands, everybody in the vehicle, whether front or back seat, whether old or young, must by law wear an appropriate restraint? For adults, that restraint is a seatbelt. Let's look at how the law applies to children. Riding secured in the back seat is a requirement for children under the age of 14, so you should never see small children sitting up front. The law also requires children less than 4 foot 9 inches tall or up to the age of 8 to sit in an appropriate car seat. So infants from birth to age 1 must ride in a rear-facing seat, and we will explore the reason for that in a minute. Children from ages 2 to age 5 must sit in a forward-facing seat, and from age 6 to the age of 8 or up to 4 foot 9 inches tall, children must ride in a booster seat. It helps to know why car seats are important in the first place. Let's take a look at this video. When a vehicle is moving at, let's say, 35 miles per hour, so is everything inside of it. If the vehicle crashes, unrestrained objects keep moving at 35 miles per hour until they hit something. This is why infant and children's car seats are so important. They hold child passengers in place, preventing injuries. Here's another look at two children in a crash. Look at the difference between the crash outcomes for the child who is unrestrained compared to the child in the car seat. Why take the risk? Let's buckle our babies. Let's take a moment to discuss how seat belts and car seat straps work. First, did you know that seat belts are made to work with adult bodies? If children use seat belts before they're 4 foot 9 inches tall, their little bodies could be ejected from the seat belt in a crash. Seat belts are also made to work with some of the strongest bones in our bodies: our shoulders, the chest, and the hips. Remember this. This will become very important later on. In a crash, airbags, which are stored in the steering wheel and dashboard of most cars, deploys with great force. And as you can see here in this video, it's made to work with a seat belt. While the seat belt holds the rider back, the airbag hits the adult occupant in the chest. Because a child is much smaller, a deployed airbag can cause major injury. As you can see, airbags are also very dangerous for children and infants in car seats. Now let's explore the various stages of child passenger safety. Rear-facing seats face the trunk of the car. Although most caregivers would prefer to see their baby's face, this is the safest way for baby to ride. Think about how your neck would whip forward during a crash. Since an infant's head is the largest and heaviest part of their body, this violent whipping can cause lifelong injuries to the neck and spine, or worse. If you can pinch the straps at the shoulder, the straps are too loose. Tighten them to keep baby secure in the seat. Also, be sure that the seat is reclined according to the seat's instructions. Because infants cannot lift their heads like we can, being erect can cause their head to flop forward, and this can cause suffocation. In the territory, rear-facing seats are required from birth to age 1. However, the best practice is to leave baby this way until he outgrows the weight limits for his seat for rear facing. This can be up to 4 years old, depending on the seat. This is the safest way to ride. So why is rear facing such a safe way to ride? In this video, we see how excessive strain is placed on the neck, shoulders, spine of an infant when facing forward during a crash. By turning the seat to the back, the crash forces are absorbed over a larger area, the baby's back. This reduces potential for crash-related injuries. Let's pause for a minute to think about how we can advocate for infants. Some of the things you can look for are infants who are facing forward. We know they should be facing to the rear. We can also look for infants who are sitting too erect. When we see things that are dangerous, we should share our knowledge with the caregivers and suggest things that can correct the things that we see. Also, we can look out for loose straps and be sure that all clips and buckles are fastened. And remember, you can always refer them to the Virgin Islands Office of Highway Safety for information and additional support. My, how time flies. Baby has outgrown the rear-facing seat and is now ready to face forward. These seats have a 5-point harness system which helps spread the crash forces to reduce injuries. The strong bones that the straps target are the shoulders, the chest, and the hips. The chest clip should be fastened on the child's strong chest bone. Placing it too high or too low can cause injuries in a crash. Again, do the pinch test. If you can pinch the webbing at the shoulder, adjust the straps. They're too loose. Be sure that the buckle between the legs is fastened. This will prevent baby from sliding out of the seat. Virgin Islands law requires the seat for 2 to 5-year-olds. However, best practice again recommends that a child stay in this seat until she outgrows the weight and height limits of the seat. What might advocacy for this population look like? Well, we can definitely look out for loose straps and unfastened buckles and clips. We make sure that chest clip is between the armpits. And remember to refer these caregivers to our office for additional information and support. Before you know it, the child is booster seat ready. A booster seat elevates the child up off the vehicle seat so that the seat belt fits the child as it would an adult. The child uses the vehicle seat belt, which is a 3-point harness system. This time the belt targets one shoulder, the chest bone, and the hips. As the child's body develops and becomes stronger, you can see that the support needed from straps becomes less. In the territory, booster seats are required for children from ages 5 to 8 or up to 4 foot 9 inches tall. Again, we'll refer to the weight and height limits of the seat to determine the safest time to transition a child out of a booster seat. This is always the best practice. So how do you know when a child is ready for a seat belt? The child should be able to sit with his back against the vehicle seat, bend his knees at the edge of the seat without slouching, and touch the floor of the car with his feet. If a child can do all of these things at the same time, again without slouching, then that child is seatbelt ready. In the Virgin Islands, by law, a child that is age 9 or taller than 4 foot 9 inches can use a seatbelt in the back seat without a booster seat. So here's an important point to remember. One should never ride with the seatbelt crossing over the neck or passing behind the back or under the arm. Remember when we spoke about the seatbelt targeting strong bones to keep crash victims in place? Well, the neck, ribs, and spine are not strong enough to sustain crash forces. In these situations, seatbelts can cause internal injuries and life-altering health issues. Belts should always pass the shoulders, the chest, and the hips. Advocating for the older children is relatively easy. We're always going to look out for that seatbelt. Is it crossing over the child's neck? If it is, a booster seat is probably in order. Be sure that the belt is passing over the shoulder, the chest, and the hips. And with any questions, just send them our way. Remember, in the Virgin Islands, children ages 13 and under must ride in the back seat. No exceptions. Many families see this as a rites of passage as the child gets older, but riding in the front is a major safety issue. Let's take a look at why. First of all, the back seat is the safest place for us to ride. In a crash, it's furthest away from shattering glass and hard surfaces. Also, the airbags, which are located in the dashboard, are made to work along with seat belts to keep adult-sized bodies in place. This first video shows us the danger of placing a car seat in the front seat. Also, remember the airbag is made to hit an adult in the chest. Since a child is smaller, the airbag will explode in the facial area as shown in this clip. The force of the airbag is dangerous for child crash victims. Here are some other car seat tips for you. Shake the car seat close to where the seat is attached to the car. It should not move more than an inch in any direction. A forward-facing seat should have a tether strap attached to an anchor in the vehicle. Sometimes the anchor is located on the roof of the car or behind the seat. Check your vehicle's manual to find your tether anchors. This helps to prevent whiplash in a crash. In order for straps and seat belts to work correctly, straps should never be twisted. If all of those pretty toys and accessories were not made by the manufacturer of the seat, then they can become projectiles in a crash, harming the baby or other passengers in the car. Manufacturer-made toys are crash tested with their seats, but other manufacturers' toys can be unsafe. At the Virgin Islands Office of Highway Safety, we provide education and resources to encourage and facilitate child passenger safety for our community. When in supply, we distribute free car seats to families in need. We are grateful for our partnership with the Department of Human Services, who procures seats for distribution. We also conduct outreach and training opportunities like this one for caregivers and students. And to create a web of community support, we train child passenger safety technicians who can assist motorists with children with ensuring the car seat is the right fit for their developing child and that their car seats are safely installed. These certified child passenger safety technicians provide fitting stations, usually at their place of employment, where motorists can go to benefit from their services. Here is a listing of the active fitting stations on your island. Please note that appointments are required. So, how is our territory doing? Unfortunately, we have a culture of risky behavior when it comes to occupant protection. On the mainland, 90.4% of the motoring community wear their seatbelts. In the territory, that rate is 72.3%. When it comes to child passengers, 87.9% are secured in appropriate child restraints on the mainland. At home, we're closer to 32%. When child passenger safety technicians check the seats that are already installed on the mainland, they're finding about a 46% error rate. These errors can cause injury to a child in a crash. In the territory, we are finding an error rate closer to 83%. We have a lot to do to improve crash outcomes for our children. All right, so let's put our knowledge to the test. Let's pretend like we're walking up to these vehicles and we're going to do the scan. We're going to scan what we see with the children and see if we see any errors. Are you ready? What about this little girl? Yep, she's way too small to be facing forward. And did you notice that she has no chest clip? She could be ejected from her seat in a crash. How about this guy? He's not ready for a seatbelt. That seatbelt can cause him major internal injuries in a crash. Booster seat for you. What's wrong here? Yes, the chest clip is in an unsafe position. It should be right between the armpits. Too high or too low can cause injuries. And this little one? She's not ready for a booster seat. She needs extra support of the 5-point harness system. Rear facing would probably be a good idea for her as well. Check out baby boy. Yeah, his chair needs to be reclined to prevent his little head from flopping forward. Remember, this position can cause suffocation. Did you notice that his chest clip is way too low? Remember, it should be right between his armpits. And while we're at it, let's get rid of that headrest because it may not have been manufactured by his car seats manufacturer. And we've seen this far too often. He's way too small for the front seat, and he probably should be in a booster seat in the back. What about this? This is a sight that is seen way too often in the Virgin Islands. Now we know how dangerous that could be. Please, let's buckle our babies. Here's another common sight. In a crash, the weight of the adults' bodies could crush those children against the steering wheel. This could be tragic. I think you're ready now. Here's a summary for you. Car seats are a wise choice to reduce the chance of injury for children. 14 is a magic age for riding in the front seat because airbags can cause major injury to child crash victims. Rear facing is the safest way to ride. Everything unrestrained becomes a projectile in a crash. And the Virgin Islands Office of Highway Safety is at the ready to support you on your journey. No pun intended. Congratulations! You are officially a child passenger safety advocate. You know why child passenger safety is important. You know what to look out for. You know when to step in. And you know where more information can be found. Every day, just do the scan. And if you see something unsafe, don't be afraid to say something. Your intervention might save a life. Whew, Well, that was a lot of information, but you get the gist of what we would like you to do, how we would like you to advocate for our children. There's certain things that you just look for when you do the scan. Are they sitting on somebody's lap? Are they actually in a car seat? Are the straps too loose? Is the chest clip too high or too low? Are they wearing a seatbelt the way they should be wearing a seatbelt, shoulder, chest, and hips? These are things that we can just take a scan and look for and identify, and then use our knowledge to help caregivers to make adjustments to keep our children safe. I'll be honest with you, some of our caregivers get a little defensive when we talk to them about, what we might observe with their children. But be patient, be kind. We're not accusing them of anything. Sometimes they really just don't know. But we just want to make sure that our conscience is clear, now that we have this information, that we do something with it and try to make a difference for our children. Thank you so much for participating in this session. I hope you have gained new knowledge and that you use it to advocate for those who cannot advocate for themselves. Here is our contact information. Please reach out to us. We want to support you through this journey. Please stay safe.